Welcome, gangsters. It's your dad, Uncle Detaw, and I'm the host of this podcast. Let's get that right out of the way. And I'll tell you right now, dude, if this is one of those times where I sit down real hard and I sit down regular, but if I sit down and I try real hard and nothing comes out, then that'll just have to be my destiny. Right? That'll just have to be what I do today. And it'll just have to be okay. You know, it's going to be fine, is where I'm at, kind of, sort of. I'm approaching that. Because your boy's 30 now. Your boy's 30, and he's not flirty, but he is in his Buddhist era. He's in his Buddhist era and his surrender era. Okay? I'm learning to surrender. I stubbed my toe this morning. This is a real thing that happened, and it hurt real bad for a second, and then I remembered Buddhism, and then I was at peace. That's what happens when you stub your toe and you're 30. And you're in your Buddhist era, more importantly, right? You remember that it's all good, or it's gonna be, and it's fine, I guess. I stubbed my toe in my non-Buddhism era once, pre-Buddhism, on a dumbbell that Carl left out on the ground where the people walk. And dude, you stub your toe in the pitch black darkness. It's 3 a.m. on a 30-pound rubber thing, and it's Carl's fault, and Carl is sleeping right there. You got to find Jesus quick, so as to not kill Carl, regardless of Buddhism. I guess it'd be Siddhartha. You got to find Siddhartha if you're in your Buddha era and Buddhism era. Booty era. Booty era. Booty era is fantastic. I'm just in my booty era. Oh my god. It's two girls, right? It's two girls, obviously, in this next thing. Whatever comes next, it's going to be two girls. Let's start the podcast off right by hating women. Oh my god, how are you? OMG. Hi, girl. Oh, I'm just in my booty era. I'm just mostly in my booty era right now. She's like, oh, what do you mean? And she's like, well, just been stubbing my toe in the pitch black darkness and then surrendering so as to not kill Carl in my booty era mostly. How are you? And she's like, I don't understand. I don't know where. I don't understand. And the girl's like, which part? And she's like, well, booty era, obviously. And she goes, well, booty's just short for Buddhism, so I guess I'm in my Buddhist era, technically, but I just say booty because, Buddhist takes longer. She's like, no, it doesn't. And then she goes, well, if you think about it, Buddhist takes longer because there's more letters than booty, so it takes more letters and it takes longer. And the other girl's obviously like over it. This is why they don't hang out anymore. And she goes, right. Well, not really though, right? Because syllables. It's the same syllables. And she's in her booty era, so like she's sort of surrendering, but she's kind of new to the thing, right? So she's a white belt. She's not a black belt yet, right? So she still gets insecure about, things that she doesn't understand, like syllables. She goes like, okay, well, fine. Anyway, I got a matcha class in 10, but we should totally get a coffee wearing yoga pants sometime. And she walks off and just watches a video on syllables. Oh, feels good to say stuff that doesn't make sense. Dude, a girl in her booty era going to a matcha class, just barely tolerating another girl because she doesn't agree with a thing about her, about doesn't agree with the thing that doesn't matter, you know? This is a sick intro. I was doubting myself, dude. I was doubting myself as always, but we're pulling through, you and me together, because we're both 30 and we're both in our booty era. Booty era. I've been thinking about getting my next tattoo, and if I'm 1% deeper into my booty era, by the time I hit my birthday, because that's when I get tattoos, I'm getting booty era as a tattoo. Right on the back of my shoulder, right? Where girls get some dainty shit like fucking progress, you know? I know I'm only picking on girls so far, but, you know, it's still my favorite podcast. Anyway, dude, your boy's been real sad and lonely lately, and I don't know what it is but about doing this, but I do feel a little less lonely now that you're listening, even though you can't be listening because this isn't done yet. So whatever that is, it shouldn't make sense, but that's it is what it is, which is also a tenet of Buddhism. Anyway, man, thanks for coming in. Thanks for tuning in. Sometimes this is hard to do, and I get down on myself because I can't get in the flow state, right? But you got to remind yourself, man, this is now. Be here now, Ram Dass. We're in our surrender mode, in our booty era. Pre-booty era, pre-surrender mode. I'd sit down, I'd wait for something funny to come just to sincerely wish I was dead. And which is the ultimate surrender, I guess. We're starting deep. But sometimes you bomb a solo podcast, dude, and that's one kind of lonely that you can't know until you do it. But you spend 20 minutes either degrading your own existence or staring at the camera in silence, right? That's my favorite thing. I try to explode the camera with my mind, is how hard I'm staring. When I'm bombing to myself, just utter contempt for the camera recording me, just sitting down doing nothing. Because if I had a nicer camera, I'd be funnier. Anyway, it's weird doing this, man, because like you bomb to yourself and then you put all this stuff back in its place and go, well, that was a weird way to spend 40 minutes. And then I just go about my day like I didn't bomb to no one in 1080p. But you got to know when to fold, you know? You got to know when to stop recording when you're bombing to yourself on a podcast. Because you can't force it, dude. I can't. You can force it to a point, but and then if you force it to a point, you're working hard. If you force it for an hour, you break your brain, right? To the point where nothing's funny. And then you start to take it out on other people. I do. Anyway, welcome to the Spam and Eggs podcast. AKA the Booty Era podcast. Dude, the Booty Era podcast is the shit. Is there already... There has to be. I'm going to look it up. There's no way there's not a Booty Era podcast. podcast. It's all honestly sex playlists. First thing, manifesting a big booty. No. Second thing, spreading her legs. Tongue wet emoji. It's a chick in doggy style and then scream. I'm gonna take its word for it, dude. Spotify says there's no Booty Era podcast, and now there is a Booty Era podcast, and it's this one. Can I have a second name for the podcast? No, right? You can't just have like Dexter and have it be 2.5 Men. But also this is YouTube. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up, but if I can have two names to a podcast, it's gonna be the Spam and Eggs podcast, aka the Booty Era podcast. So in case Spam tries to come after me when this channel absolutely blows up, then I could switch and not miss a beat. And it's fine. It's also the Booty Era podcast. And then it's just we go the Booty Hour podcast full time. I actually did look this up before when I wanted to copyright the Spam and Eggs podcast because I took this way too seriously at first. And then and I found out if you just, use the name for however long and then you copyright it, the copyright is retroactive, which is great. So from here henceforth, the podcast is, yes, the Spam and Eggs podcast and the Booty Era podcast. And I'm not joking. I'm making a second sign and everything. I'm going to make a second sign. The Booty Era podcast. Welcome. For those of you listening, I just put a sign up. Now it's the Booty Era podcast as well. And you know what, dude? You know what's cool about this is there's levels to this shit. There's levels to the Booty Era podcast. Because if you haven't seen this episode and then you hear I have a podcast called the Booty Era podcast, you're going to think it's like booty like ass. Like the ass podcast, right? But it's not. It's Buddhism. Right? Also, the other level is I'm not Buddhist. I can't say if I'm Buddhist or not. I'm not Buddhist, but I'm going to look into it. Because I surrender when I stub my toe now, dude. Not immediately, because I'm not a black belt either. But the window of time where I stub my toe and I want to kill Carl, not specifically, but for the dumbbell situation, that window of time is shrinking the further I get into my surrender mode era, my booty era. But it's like you got to surrender to the proverbial toe stubs in life, not just the literal ones, right? That's what the booty era is. And it's the booty era. Here's another level, because you can lose sight for a little bit. You could fall out of that era and begin another one. It's not an indefinite thing, which is the next layer. But surrender is what I'm working on, right? Mischief at work. You got a little less money next week, but all good. You're in your booty era. You cut your own hair and it looks like it. All good. You're in your booty era. Bomb to yourself on a podcast that no one watches except you in 1080p right? All good. You're in your booty era. Stub a toe on a dumbbell that Carl didn't put away, even after he said he would. All good. You're in your booty era. Broke up with my girlfriend for reasons that at certain times aren't entirely clear to me still. Sometimes feeling like I made a huge mistake. This one's harder to be in my booty era about because it's very fucking sad. But I'm surrendering to the fact that it's harder to be in my booty era, which means I'm in my booty era. So in that sense, and all of these senses, I'm a Buddhist. I'll get back to you on my actual Buddhism status, but this podcast definitely has two names now. And I did not see that coming. So thanks for tuning in. And thanks for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, extra thanks, right? Us. It's just me. But anyway, yeah, watch it. Watch the podcast for fuck's sake. And watch the whole thing, okay? I make the whole thing. You consume the whole thing. Can we agree on that? Or no? It's fine if you don't, I understand. But you know. Otherwise, you reject me. Which is fine. But keep in mind, you know, I am me. So you can reject me, but you can't reject I. And if we are all the same, then I am you. And if you reject me, you reject you, which is also I. We're in the weeds. Let's get out of here. I don't want to see you reject you, so listen to the whole fucking podcast. You handsome fuck. If you're listening to my podcast, dude, that's fucking crazy. I can't believe you're listening to my podcast. Just putting on pants in the morning, listening to my podcast, feeding your dog at night, feeding your moose in the morning, right? Driving to school. It's awesome. I can't believe you're watching my podcast while you're driving. If you're like me, you missed the place where you're going. I'm looking for a McDonald's. Even if you have your phone on your directions because your mind is elsewhere. But we could get into something like that later. My point is, one way or another, you're consuming my podcast, and that's weird. But I also dig it, so thank you. You know? Okay. So treat yourself right. Lock onto the podcast that you committed to, the Spam and Eggs podcast. I wonder if any girls will ever listen to this podcast. And I want to have a podcast you can fuck to. How do you make that? I'm going to have to meditate on that. What's the latest with me, dude? There's some sad stuff. Your boy's single again. Mentioned that. Out on these streets. Just jumping into traffic mostly. I'm doing okay, you know? I know people do it every day, which is what 2 people have told me. And I want to even still destroy those people, right? Because sometimes people just need to say something. And I understand that, depending on your motivation, or at the very least tone. But if your motivation is, I just need to say something, ask yourself, do I? You know what I mean? Let me think about how well I know this person. If you're just a guy that just met another guy at an open mic and you learned about a breakup through the guy's set and your tone is, people do it every day, which is what the guy's tone was, I'm going to say, I didn't ask. Which is what I said. Because you didn't ask the questions. You didn't ask, do I really need to say something? It's okay, just don't talk to me anymore, right? Find another comic. Ask another comic if their set about fucking muffins was real. And then you tell them, you know, muffins every day. Fuck. We're falling down these stairs pretty fast. I don't know, man. Just pretty sensitive about it. I'm a vulnerable guy. We were together a long time, and let's not make this whole episode about this, but it's like when someone dies, you know? What are you going to say? This is why I understand. It's like when someone dies. What are you going to... I'm sorry, right? I'm here if you need anything. Those generic fucking... And you say them because, you know, again, motivation, tone, whatever. But the thing is, everyone's been on both sides of that conversation. And you don't got to pussyfoot around it necessarily, right? Sometimes that's more uncomfortable. But you do have to read people in real time, and some people can't read. So that's what I should have said, dude. I'm going to slip that in my little brain folder for next time. For next time someone says that, people do it every day. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. Hey, can you read? Just with a total dead-faced and monotone. Sometimes you just want to smack the fuck out of someone. I'm angry again just thinking about this fucking guy. Thanks for listening. I found, what do we want to talk about? Found a new coffee shop. Is that anything? Nothing more LA than talking about your new favorite coffee shop, dude. I said copy, but fine. Nothing more LA than talking about your favorite coffee shop on Coffee Ship. We got Copy Shop and Copy Ship. So let's do that, dude. I don't even want to do that anymore. Let's not talk about copy ships or copy shops or coffee shops. I had the coffee shop in my mind, but that seems really silly now. Because I talked about the breakup, which is how I've been starting half of my sets lately. And I gotta stop doing that. Fuck it, dude. Let's get silly. We can get into the other stuff later. The first thing about this coffee shop is it's got a chandelier with 40 years of dust, and it has to make it twice as heavy. This thing has so much dust, it's unbelievable. You know what? I just realized I'm not going to talk about this. I just realized that chandeliers are boring, and I had a couple thoughts on chandeliers, and what a snooze. I could stand to take this podcast a little less lackadaisical and not open up with extravagant lighting. And chances are you didn't lock into this podcast to fall asleep. So don't tell me if you did. That'll hurt my feelings. Like I said in the last one, I'm a vulnerable guy. I'm a vulnerable guy. Anyway, rest assured that that's the last I'll talk about chandeliers out of respect for you. Well, okay. All right. One thing about chandeliers. I don't know why you'd have a chandelier in a coffee shop that's got natural light and closes at 4 p.m. I don't understand it. I sat down and I tried to write a bunch of stuff, and then I just kept thinking about this chandelier. Like, why is this here? There's natural light, and you close at 4. I was thinking about that and how it's silly to have something suspended by a chain that is going to break at one point. And when it breaks, not if, it's falling on whatever happens to be under it at the time. And honestly, you should be so lucky to be under that chandelier, as long as it doesn't kill you. Because now you own a coffee shop. Never bleep it. I can't have you knowing where my favorite coffee shop is. Not because you'll come see me. Imagine my 3 listeners in the Philippines coming to whenever just to find my favorite coffee shop. Not to see me, but just to see this chandelier with a lot of dust. I don't want to tell you where the shop is because it's got empty seats. basically, is what it is. It's got empty chair seats. I mean, chair seats. Empty couch seats. I was thinking about that too then. Man, that's amazing, by the way. 3 listeners in the Philippines. It's dope, dude. I got excited. I checked the analytics, and there are plays coming in from, I wrote them down. The Philippines, Italy, Russia, Germany, Poland, Canada, and the UK. So that's really dope. Thanks for that, for real. It's really cool. Anyway, there's this coffee shop in Doe and Bleep It Again. And I like this place a lot because it has 4 people in it always. And if you've been in LA for any amount of time, you know what it means to walk into a coffee shop with 4 people in it and 3 empty couch chairs. So in order to keep those 3 extra couch chairs empty as long as I can, I'm going to do my little part and not tell you where it is. Because if you do know what it means to have 3 empty couch chairs in a coffee shop, you'll understand, dude. You'll find out about it when Jesus decides. How's that? You'll find out soon, I'm sure of it. It's only a matter of time before one of your chatty Cathy friends tells you about it and fucks it up for the rest of us. I've told 0 people. I practice what I preach. I've told 0 people about this coffee shop. Share the wealth, I guess, but there's just not enough couch chairs to go around. So, it's not very Buddhist of me. But like I said, there are a lot of chatty Cathys. So it wouldn't be a big deal if I told one person and that person only told one person. But that's not going to happen, right? Maybe if you were their only friend. And in which case, I don't want to sit next to either of you. So dick. I don't know, man. It's like the fact that there are 3 couch chairs anywhere is absurd. How many people are there in Los Angeles? 3 billion? Let's look it up. I'm going to look it up. No, 3 million. No, 12 million. So which is it? Also, what the hell does it mean what does greater mean? What does it mean when you stick greater in front of a city? What part do you live in? The greater part. Pretty cocksure, aren't you? I feel like greater just means like the 6 square miles where the wealth disparity is as great as it possibly can be, right? Just fantastically homeless. Some of our residents are, and sad. Anyway, this coffee shop is expensive as shit. Speaking of homeless, $11.89 for a ham and cheese, and $7.10 for an avocado toast. You can blow me till I'm dead, dude. Okay, I'll give you $7.10 for avocado toast when it starts coming with a ride somewhere. You know, how's this? I'll give you $7.10 for avocado toast when it comes with a chance to yank on the chandelier and see if I can win myself a coffee shop. I know I said no more chandelier talk, dude, but who checks the integrity of the chain? Right? Who checks it? Other than gravity every second since they put it up. Chains break, dude. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, something happened at this coffee shop, and while it's still my favorite coffee shop, I did take note of it. Okay. I got unsolicited advice from a white guy wearing dreadlocks. Can you wear dreadlocks? Is that how you say it? I don't know. I'm only saying he's white because of the dreadlocks, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't mention it. I'm not one of those guys who doesn't listen to white people because they're white. I think everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to contribute, right? Just because you're white doesn't mean you haven't picked some valuable shit up along the way. Get that in your fucking head, dude. It is funny, though, how the race that dismisses white people the most is white people, right? I'm not going to listen to a straight white male because he's straight and white and male. And it's like, dude, you're a straight white male. Shut the fuck up. You're a human being. And if you have had 2 eyes and a brain and you've been walking around the earth for 33 years, if you've been walking around for long enough to string some thoughts together, have your thoughts, right? Jesus. I didn't mean to go in this direction, but look, dude, just because you're white doesn't mean you should just say nothing and shut the fuck up forever, okay? The only thing more annoying than telling someone else that they're just a straight white male is a straight white male just saying that they are just a straight white male. It's starting to feel like an excuse just to not have thoughts or look into stuff. And to those people who keep telling people that they're just straight white males and to shut the fuck up, that's not how conversations work. You know? That's not how minds expand. You present ideas aloud, and then you see what you like or you don't like about your own ideas, and also see what other people think about your ideas. You take that information and either change your ideas or you don't. But you got to know what you think too. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. All right, PSA over. You know what's really great about this too, dude, is that there are people out there right now saying to themselves, listening to this, that when they hear I'm telling white people it's okay to fucking have thoughts and say stuff, they're going to assume I'm Republican because I'm telling straight white males it's okay to think. And there's a very good chance that those people are also white. And and you know, thanks for listening, right? But you are part of the problem. It's good to talk stuff out, dude. It's good. It's how we figure out what we think. Fucking idiots. There I am insulting people and telling them to be better. My point is, I went into this coffee shop and I left my things on the table. I went to the bathroom, peed in the trash can, and then I came out. I didn't really pee in the trash can, but I came back, and this guy comes up to me, and he comes up to me. We weren't even sitting next to each other. He comes up to me and says, "You shouldn't leave your things on the table. People steal." And it made me very angry. Because I know that. Right? Did he have my best interest? Who cares? White guy with dreadlocks. And there I am doing the same thing. Don't have dreadlocks. Do what you want. But more importantly, it seemed to me like he was saying, like, I didn't know about stealing. I know about stealing, dude. I'm 30. I stole a mug from Denny's while I was 30. Should I say that? I'm not sure. But listen, dude, leaving my backpack on a table is a calculated risk. I'm in and the average net worth per capita is like $3 million, okay? No one needs my joke book. No one needs my laptop. Even if they did, no one steals at 9 a.m. That's not true, but Also, if I came back and my joke book and laptop were gone, if they were stolen, that's just what my day is now, right? It's what I get for peeing in the trash can. And also, I can tell who steals. I can tell who steals. I'm Mr. Recognize in a coffee shop, dude. I can tell people apart. I can tell who's got the balls and uh the nuts. And at the very least, I could tell a snitch. And I got the balls and the nuts to make a snitch snitch. You know what I mean? I think this upset me for a couple reasons, right? First of all, he couldn't tell I had the nuts to punch him right in the balls. And calling balls nuts is hilarious. Second reason why I got upset, dude, is like, why get in a stranger's business unless you absolutely need to? Right? You should know that people stab people. I should have said that, dude. I should have said that. Don't you know people steal? Don't you know people stab? I wasn't going to stab him, obviously. That would be crazy. It's like, don't you know people stab? Walk away. I pissed in the trash can. But everyone, here's the thing, dude. This is what the guy didn't understand. Everyone has their unique and special threshold for stabbing someone. For me, if I were raised just a little bit differently, my threshold could be getting advice from white guys with dreadlocks. Making things white again. Going back on my own philosophy. And I don't know, dude. I guess when I break it down, I got upset because this guy I've never met doesn't think the same way as me and doesn't know that I could be a psycho. Right? Maybe that's my thing. He has no idea what my thing is. You know? Maybe my thing is I bait people to steal so I can stab them. I'm going to get off the stabbing stuff in a little bit here, but or I bait people to tell me to not do stuff so I can stab them, right? I'm not saying I am that, but he doesn't know that. And that's what bothers me. That he doesn't think like me. So maybe that says more about me than it does him, but obviously I didn't stab him, even though I fantasized about it in real time, like a fucking lunatic. Now I'm just thinking about all the better moves I could have made than the ones I actually made. I should have just said nothing. I should have just, don't you know people steal? And then I should have just looked up real slow and stared right through him and said nothing. He just, people steal. And then I just stare. And then he goes, shit, my bad. What actually happened isn't as cool because the staring didn't come until one step too late, but it was almost that cool. What happened was this. I get back from the bathroom, minding my own, just peed in the trash can. And I sat back down, started editing the pod, playing chess like a G. And then the dude walks up and he says, people steal. And what I said was, it's okay. And this is why I'm sitting down to make a podcast about it. This is why I'm upset. He says, you think stealing is okay. And then I stared. Because in a situation like this, the first person to speak loses. Right? So I just sat there. I just sat there staring up at him. And I didn't know what was going to happen, dude. Right? But there was this 4-second gorgeous pause. Silence. Where I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. And I see him realize. Right? I see him come to his senses, and his face says, what good's this gonna do? And he walked away. Smart. That's a smart guy with dreadlocks. Not that I would have jumped straight to kick him in the head, but he either could have kicked me first or caught my kick and then threw me out the window. That's a possibility for sure. He's got to have some sort of confidence coming up to a stranger and telling him not to do something that doesn't matter at all. Which is why you don't kick people generally, but I imagined it. Something's up with my brain, dude. My first options in my Rolodex of things to imagine was stabbing a stranger or kicking him in the head. Oh, problems. Now, he walked away because he either imagined he either sensed I imagined these things or he didn't, right? By the look on my face. But he did have the humility and the foresight to say to himself, I see now. Right? This interaction doesn't matter at all. This guy clearly wants me to evaporate, and it's my fault that he knows that I even exist. I'm going to get out of here. Fuck this guy's laptop. And then he walked away. That's what makes him smart. And like I said, it's not like a tough guy thing. It's not like better walk away, right? It's I appreciate that he realized when it was time to walk, right? He didn't need to put us both through him digging a hole that leads to nowhere. Because we've all seen that. He self-corrected, and that's my shit, dude. A self-correction, if it leads to nowhere, that's some booty era shit. You know? So shout out to the guy who, said something and maybe shouldn't have, but then he walked away. That's cool. I liked him after that. It's not really, but now I do, right? Maybe next time we'll meet again, and then I'm the one who sucks. And then I'll have to self-correct, and then he'll make a podcast about it. People steal. Don't you know people steal? Don't you know I could kick you in the head? Maybe. Maybe he would have beat me to it. I don't know. One thing about this coffee shop, too, is, which he must not have noticed, because he was too excited to give me advice, even though he had dreadlocks, is that there are too many cameras for this coffee shop to not also be a bank. Because straight up, there are cameras pointed at every square inch of this place, right? With like 4 fucking cameras for, what's it called? Redundancy. Which was really weird. It made me feel like I was in like there's something a little different going on here, right? But there are a ton of cameras in there, and maybe they're fake, but I don't know. If they're not, they're just recording terabytes of footage of 4 people, mostly just not moving. And I don't know. It's crazy. I guess if someone did steal my backpack, they'd have to learn how to pull the footage up. Because I'm sure they've never done it before. Because judging by the crowd, right, the average patron, no one's throwing punches there often enough for every employee to know how to pull up the security footage. They'd have enough time like lifting my backpack, let alone running away with it. I know I'm trying to sound like a tough guy right now, or it seems like it might be, but I'm not. I'm just kind of frustrated. But not with you, because you're listening to my podcast. Anyway, that's the coffee shop. At least I didn't talk about fucking chandeliers for too long. I don't know, man. Just been real sad. Real sad. I worked the Oscars recently, if that's anything. By that I mean I spent the first 5 hours of the Oscars making sure that there were enough chips and popcorn, and I couldn't walk around that much, which is fine. Here's one thing, dude. I wonder if I would feel more of this if I looked older. Working at the Oscars at 30 will make you question whether or not you've done the right thing with your screenwriting degree. I guess, I don't know. Overall, it was cool. I'm glad I did it. It's all material, you know? That's how I spin shit around these days, Mr. Brightside. Mr. Buddhist. If it's not clear to you, I gotta brush up on everything about Buddhism. But what was I spinning around? Screenwriting degrees. Inferiority complex. Here's what I kind of noticed, and this wasn't everyone, but it's gonna happen because you're just a worker there. You're just there to like be helpful and not seen or heard. But I don't know. You just feel like worthless a little bit. And maybe that's the inferiority complex that I just mentioned. But here's the thing. Just because I haven't made a movie doesn't mean I'm worthless. I'm worthless because I haven't made one. Yet. I'm worthless to these people, right? Like the only thing they're going to get from me is chips and fucking popcorn. But when I make a movie, dude, just fucking watch out. Watch out when I make a movie. It ain't getting awards, but it'll be a movie. Weird, too. Like, everyone's going to be black. But some black people will be playing white people. And, you know, like there'll be a black guy talking about how it's harder to be white than it used to be. And it's not like a social commentary thing. It's not taking any kind of stance. It's just a black guy that plays a white guy. The twist, of course, is that there is no twist. The whole movie is just trying to figure out which black people are supposed to be white. Oh my God. Someone forward that to a fucking agent. Anyway, I worked the Oscars. And it was a 14-hour shift. And, you know, whatever. There were people much older than me working that shift. But 14-hour shifts are bullshit for anyone, dude. Because a 14-hour shift is an 8-hour shift. And then a 6-hour shift. And it either feels like that or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Because a 4 hour shift could feel like forever, but 14 hours is an 8 hour shift and then a 6 hour shift. That's just the math of it. But it didn't feel like a 14-hour shift until exactly 11 hours. I looked down at the watch and I was like, "Oh, it's been 11 hours." But it feels like 14. So I guess technically I worked 17 hours. Not technically, but 14 hours, dude. God bless nurses and whoever else works that many hours. After 14 hours, I didn't give a fuck about anything. I kind of made some sort of friends, right? With some other people working it and a couple of the guests. That was kind of cool. And one of the girls kept coming up to me. She's like, "Oh, guess what? Guess who I just saw?" And after 14 hours, dude, what I said was who? What I meant was, I don't care. I worked 14 hours. But I was polite, right? And pretended to be excited because I didn't know her. And I don't want to say I don't care. It's 14 hours. But by hour 12 of her coming up to me and saying, "Guess who I just saw?" Unless you saw actual Spider-Man, and he can also make me Spider-Man, I don't give a fuck who you saw. It was cool seeing all those people. And it's weird how different they look in real life. Um, I saw Ana de Armas. That was pretty sick, gorgeous as ever. But it was humanizing to see her in real life because she looked like a person. Gal Gadot. That was pretty. That was a big one, I guess. Because she looked like Gal Gadot. She looked like movie Gal Gadot. Everyone else kind of looked like, like, oh, you could tell that's that person. But you saw Gal Gadot in this gorgeous red dress, and you were like, oh, I think this is the movie. I don't know. There was one point I saw her. I think I saw her like twice, and oh no, that was after. So this girl, the girl who kept saying, "Guess who I just saw," comes up to me, and she goes, "Guess who I just saw?" And I was like, you know, I don't give a shit, but I don't really know you, and I don't want to say I don't know you. It's been 14 hours, but who, right? And she says Gal Gadot, and I was like, oh, I guess I kind of give a shit. She was like, Gal Gadot. And then she goes, "Oh, can you go make sure there's napkins in that thing?" Or whatever she said. Um, and I was like, hold on, where is Gal Gadot? And because this place is huge and there's a million people and you don't want to not see Gal Gadot. And she goes, "Oh, she's in the bathroom." Uh, and then she goes, "Could you check on the napkins?" And I was like, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to see Gal Gadot come out of the bathroom. And then I'll get the napkins. And that's what I did, dude. I was like, you're not my superior. And you go get the chips. So that's what I did. Jeff Goldblum, saw him. That was all right. That guy's 11 feet tall, was my first thought and last thought. Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg is 4'6", which is too short. But we talked for like 40 seconds about popcorn, which drives me crazy now because I could have talked his ear off about at least 3 of his movies and his podcast with Mark Maron. But we talked about fucking popcorn. Bumped into me a little bit. Didn't really say sorry. That's whatever. I saw the short guy from Succession. I haven't seen the show, but I know he's supposed to be a dick in Succession, and he's definitely a dick in real life, which I can't say for sure. But you see a guy walk around and you go like, oh, maybe he's a bad actor. Maybe he just is a walking penis. Edward Norton. There's a little bit, like when I'm saying these things about these people, there's a little bit of me that goes like, oh, maybe you shouldn't, but it's like, what are you going to work with them? Edward Norton, saw him. Fight Club, obviously. What else do you have to say? Dave Bautista, kind of cool, but also who cares? I'm going to stop naming people in a minute here, but Emma Stone, that was cool. Short hair, still hot. Miles Teller. People say Miles Teller is a dick, but he made Whiplash what it is, and Whiplash is my There Will Be Blood. So, Adam Sandler. You guys can fill in the blank on that one. If you grew up in the 90s, and obviously, here's what I didn't expect from the Oscars, and this is where I wanted to get. I'll probably cut most of those people out, but here's what I didn't expect from the Oscars. Only seeing 12 celebrities, or however many that was, and that's why I named them, because that was my point. Yes, got there, dude. I named them all because those are the people I saw and recognize, and that's all of them. At the Oscars. And it's not that there were more and I didn't see them, because I walked around 5 floors of the Dolby Theater for 14 hours. Right? So I know who I saw. Here's how many people I saw. The shock of Edward Norton, seeing him 16 times, wore off. That's how much there were only 12 celebrities at the Oscars. Honestly, it was just more of it was like just Hollywood executives and their hot ass families, which, made sense because, like, in retrospect, seeing what I have of the Oscars, I don't really watch the Oscars, but years and years ago, seeing what I have of the Oscars, there must be like 4,000 people there, right? And there just aren't 4,000 actors. There just aren't 4,000 Hollywood celebrities. But only seeing 12 out of 4,000 at the Oscars is not what I expected. What I expected, honestly, was seeing Jenna Ortega and then almost making out. But she'd be with someone way hotter than me, and then I'd bitch out and not say anything. God, just almost making out with Jenna Ortega. What a missed ship that'd be. You know what the thing is too, is like I would bump into her I'd bump into Jenna Ortega not as a famous anything, just an open micer with a podcast. Okay, Jenna Ortega. This is how truly everything I'm telling you right now is 100% fact. Okay, this is how truly delusional I am. All right. I thought about this for days leading up to it, right? I imagined, for real, meeting Jenna Ortega at the Oscars, us hitting it off, ditching the Oscars, and smoking a joint with a skyline view. And I knew the chances. But what I did was, days before the Oscars, I swear to God this is true, I rolled a joint and wrote her name on it. And I never said that out loud, but it does sound psychotic. But it was only for this reason, right? So that I could say, hello, Jenna Ortega. I have a joint with your name on it. Would you like to build a life together? and then we smoke weed, make out, and then get married. Jenna Ortega wasn't there. Also, I don't know if she smokes weed, so that was a bummer. I did see some of the most impractical dresses in human history, and so that did not let me down. There was one lady I saw walking around with a dress so taut around the ankles that she had to fold her dress to her knees to walk around. And she wasn't famous. Which, that part shouldn't matter, but if you're gonna none of it made sense to me. First of all, if you're wearing a dress like that, you have to be famous. That's just what it is. If you're at the Oscars, you have to be famous. But it was just a regular lady in a dress, too tight. And I just had questions, like, how did you get here? Obviously, she must have known. Those couldn't have been the first. I saw her walking out of the bathroom, and those couldn't have been her first steps in the dress. So, I don't know, man. One thing I thought was hilarious was our team leader, or whatever, told me to stand where the entrance was, where the awards and shit happens, I guess. He told me to man the door, and anyone who walks in with a glass, this is the way he put it, can walk back out and enjoy their glass outside. No exceptions. And immediately I started thinking of exceptions. Jesse Eisenberg, Edward Norton, Spider-Man, and Jenna Ortega. Imagine being Edward Norton, and then imagine me telling you that you can make Fight Club, but you can't take a glass inside. I did want to say no to the short guys from Succession, but by the time I got to the door, he was just being a walking dick elsewhere. Because, I don't know. He could be a great guy, but he seems like the biggest dick in Hollywood. But it is weird, when you see a short guy. I try not to generalize, but it's like, oh well, that makes sense, and it does make sense, but it sucks that it makes sense. It's one of those things. I don't know. Just like someone that's too tall is also a dickhead. I don't know. Okay, yeah, let's wrap it up, dude. We've been doing this for too long. Hope that wasn't too much of a bummer. Fuck it, dude. Whatever. Your boy's single. Out in these streets. Jumping into traffic. Let's check these little noties here. Okay, cool. Yeah. One last thing about the Oscars. Of course I have notes. What am I, fucking professional? My thoughts on the Oscars before I had worked them were very surface level, right? Unoriginal, not nuanced at all. I think what I thought was what most people think about the Oscars. I used to think that it was just a big fucking circle jerk for celebrities. I thought it just gave them a night off from counting their money to win a big trophy for a project that already bought them a 10-month vacation, right, on a yacht that's a little bigger now. And while it sort of is that, what I came to find is that's what Vanity Fair is. Vanity Fair is the circle jerk, is what I hear. I realized that the Oscars itself isn't necessarily a night for famous people to suck each other off, right? It's really just an expensive work party, right? For the people who work with the famous people, and where the sponsor of the night is Rolex, right? And even the CEO, I actually did the, whatever it's called, the governor's ball and shit afterwards. Even the CEO of Rolex, who was the sponsor of the night, had to wait for his beef Wellington like everyone else. And I was like, cool. And it still kind of sucks, I guess, whatever, as a broke person, that's what Vanity Fair is. Vanity Fair is the circle jerk. But when you really think about it, dude, who gives a shit, right? Famous people have been hanging out with famous people since famous people, right? Let them hang out, you know? Everyone's been the guy who is not invited to the party, right? Or to something. The only difference is this one costs $56 million. And at least at your party, you can dance if you want to. Because the governor's ball, this was crazy, dude. The governor's ball, after the ceremony, was just a big buffet, and everyone's dresses were too taut to dance in. This is no shit, dude. 7 people danced. So if you're bummed you didn't go to the Oscars, you didn't have 28 grand to get into the after party, just know 7 people danced. And also Jenna Ortega wasn't there. Cool, man. We'll see if this is anything. Thanks for stopping in, dude. I've been your host, Uncle Detaw. Be sure to send an email just to say what's up. The Spam and Eggs Podcast at gmail.com. Let me know how much you hate me. I'll see you guys next week. Or next time. Next week. Who are we kidding? I'll see you next time on the very next episode of the Spam and Eggs Podcast, aka the Booty Era Podcast. And I'm going to be fine, and you're going to be fine, and it's going to be fine. Blackpink in your area. Black.